This is the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast. This is VP. We are a solutions-based podcast diving into the world of contrarian investing and alternative finance. You can find us hosted on the No Nonsense Forex YouTube channel, NoNonsenseForex.com, and podcast players everywhere. Episode 165 is brought to us by Bybit. I want to remind you again, there is a really great promotion going on if you are a new subscriber. If you go and deposit anywhere from $100 to $400, you will get a fixed 300% APR on that money. This is going to be in USDT. Now, is something like this on USDT sustainable normally? No. But when you limit the amount to 400 USDT, then yes, you can pull this off. So what you need to do is go to the show notes, click on the link to the Bybit blog. That blog will tell you everything you need to know. At the bottom of that blog, click my affiliate link, get yourself signed up, get that APR locked in, and get to trading because as everybody knows, with Bybit membership has its rewards. It is a 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast, and do not adjust your listening device. The sound you are hearing is on my end. One of those things where I am on the road and the microphone would not fit in the bag. So I am using a conference mic that my friend gave me, and I am speaking right up against a wall in a pretty tight space. So it's everything you don't want in sound. But I hope it is coming through okay for you because we have some things to talk about this week. Now, this week overall, in the financial markets was pretty dull, I would say, across the board. But then again, that's just how August is. We're getting deeper into summer, and things like this are just to be expected, really. But it was so dull that a lot of you probably missed gold making new highs once again. And it didn't just barely break above, it pretty much ran right through the old highs. And I had people who I know have large gold positions who were not aware of this. That's how these things just creep up on you when the financial media isn't really talking about it. But in the background, gold, the number one indicator, leading indicator for economic woe, just keeps hitting new highs. But it really should not be surprising. People know what's going to happen. A lot of people are in the dark, as is always the case. But the people in the know what's going to happen, and they know we're getting closer and closer to it, and they know it's no longer rhetoric. Things are actually falling into place for what is going to be a recession. And regardless of when that recession happens, what we do know now is that it's almost certain that interest rates will no longer rise in the United States, and they are likely to fall. Every Fed chairman now is pretty much on board with this. And when this happens, money typically gets printed, which means fiat currency gets weaker, which means gold gets stronger. Now, Bitcoin should be getting stronger if this happens as well, quite a bit stronger. Yet we're not really seeing much action there. We're still kind of bouncing in a range when it comes to Bitcoin. But this is not about Bitcoin. In episode 165, this is about gold and silver. And gold, I'm telling you, it doesn't feel exciting because, like I said, nobody's really talking about it, but it is. Like we say all the time on this show, contrarians, when you can have a defensive asset that just keeps going up and keeps paying you the way gold does, that's a really great thing to have. I got asked the question a couple weeks ago. They said, VP, gold keeps going up. Are you still going to be buying it? Absolutely, I'm going to keep buying it. I really, for the foreseeable future, I really don't care what the price is. I'm mega bullish on gold long term. And at the end of the day, it's still just defense on my money. I'm not going to sit here and think, oh, well, I've been talking about it since it was at 1600. I was a big buyer again right when it was right around 2000. Do you feel comfortable buying it at 2500 now? Well, absolutely. Yeah, it's defense on my money, regardless of what the price is. It could be at $4,000 right now per troy ounce. It doesn't matter. It is nothing but defense. It is nothing but insurance on my money. The really nice thing about it is it just happens to keep rising in value. So if I ever do decide to cash it out, it's going to be a nice little cash out. But that's not why I bought it. I hope this makes sense to everybody. This is something we have talked about on the show several times, but I want to reiterate it. I think right now is a good time to, and just highlight the fact that no matter what the price is, it's still defense. Now, there is going to come a time where it's going to get really overextended. The financial world will be playing offense again, and we want to be there for that too. But when that time comes, I'll let you know. We are certainly not there right now. We had some long lasting, sweet divergence going on, all while the stock market was going up and reaching new record highs. But now that it's starting to creak and crumble and fall a bit, now I don't think this is going to be it. I've said that. I said that in the last episode. I think we're, probably due for a further melt up. But when it finally does start to fall, gold should perform even better. Now, remember, it all depends really on how it falls. If it falls sharply, like we saw in 2020, well, yeah, gold is going to drop too at first. It always happens that way because people panic and flood into cash no matter what they're holding. Cash is the one thing that goes up in a panic like that. But then soon after is typically when gold catches its bid. And especially if people realize what we've been talking about on the show for a while now, that if we do have a recession, it could be the very long, drawn out variety. And once people find out that we're not getting a V shaped recovery like they had hoped, like we got in 2020 when we injected $7 trillion into the United States stock market, which we will not be able to do again, by the way, then get ready. My overall point with all this is not financial advice. Don't do anything I say. But if you wanted to add on to your gold positions or even enter gold positions for the first time, just because we're at record highs does not mean it is a bad time to do that because of what gold is at its core, especially for us. And as always, if you want to play offense with gold, feel free to. My GDX position is probably up about 30% at this point or getting close. We had a situation where central banks were buying gold, but they cannot buy gold stocks. So we're seeing an unfortunate divergence there to where our gold stocks were not catching up. But they have all done well lately. And when that panic point I talked about before sets in, where people really start to realize that there might not be a recovery anytime soon, that is when I think, because gold stocks are still stocks, but that's when I think the price of gold is going to go up so much that you are going to get that slingshot effect with the gold mining stocks. Because remember, even in recessions, people still chase alpha. Institutions and brokerage houses still need to perform. And I think that's when they're finally going to start paying attention to what's going on in the gold and silver mining market, because those stocks are going to be layups. During a recession, which stocks are actually going to go up and give us alpha? Well, probably the stocks to where the underlying asset keeps going up a lot. I mean, it just makes sense. And it will be finally worth that long, agonizing wait that many of us have had to endure. Depending on when you bought, of course. The gold stocks I bought long ago are all doing well, but some of the newer positions are up, some are down. But if you're wondering when your day will come, I think that is going to really maybe not be the time, but the start of the time. And then it's going to start getting really, really exciting. Speaking of always exciting, silver had a very interesting month and a very interesting 5 days, actually, depending on what silver mining stocks you hold, should you hold them. Now, silver has been lagging gold recently for the reasons I described. And also, gold does not have bullion banks knocking it down, knocking the price down over and over as much as silver does by far. But despite that, silver is still hovering close to $30. Actually, maybe that's not accurate. It's at $29.08 right now. Whether you think 29 is close to 30 or not, I will leave that up to you. But some really interesting developments going on in Mexico. Now, we've done a dedicated episode to this in the past. Most of your silver, unfortunately, comes from Mexico. And Mexico is not the most stable jurisdiction out there, especially right now. This week, Mexican Congress passed a proposal to ban all open pit mining. Now, some silver mines are open pit, some are underground. If you are a silver mining stock investor, you need to know what you hold for a couple of reasons. One, Mexico could go either way with this. And there's arguments against it, heavy arguments. You're going to lay off about 200,000 people if you were to do something like this. You would absolutely destroy entire communities in your country and pretty much turn them into ghost towns in a very short amount of time. But on the other end, what does this do to silver? It makes it even more scarce than it already is. And some people are saying this might be what Mexico is actually doing on purpose, floating this FUD out there to increase the price of silver. So, speculators out there, you might really need to ask yourself, were some of these silver stocks that are open pit in Mexico that got destroyed this week, might they be on sale? Who wants to take that gamble? If you're a silver mining stock investor, you're already a bit of a speculator. You're already a bit of a gambler. But I just want to put that on your radar if you are interested. We like buying things when they are cheap here, but we also like to buy things that have a high probability of panning out. But I think this news overall is bullish for silver for the reasons I just stated. And also, I mean, on top of all the other bull cases we already know for silver, we know that once we get out of this recession, or even before we get to the recession, the whole world is trying to go more electric, and you simply can't do that without the most conductive metal on the planet, and that is going to be silver. You cannot find a replacement for it. The number of silver in vaults all around the world keeps dropping. And now the one place that has most of the silver, Mexico, is realizing that they are the one place that has most of the silver, and they are starting to flex their muscles accordingly. Oh, and not to mention that silver typically moves up with gold, and I just got done telling you how bullish I am on the long-term prospects of gold. Oh, and one more thing, too, and this has been going on a while, actually, but it's just now picking up steam. China is really throttling up when it comes to their automobile making and their airplane making. On the automobile side, they're making internal combustion engine cars and electric cars. And guess what? All of that stuff, the planes too, it all needs lots of silver. I think now is a really good time to brush up and update everybody on gold and silver because I feel like the bullish cases have just gotten more bullish. And a lot of the bear cases, or really the few that were out there, have been just withering away over time. So, whether or not you are a holder of physical silver, or holding silver mining stocks, or holding a silver ETF, and whether or not you are participating in gold via physical or blockchain or paper or stocks, this is a reminder to please stay on top of what's going on. I will do my part as best I can. Because even though these defensive assets continue to pay us the way they do, the rest of the world is still way, way far behind. But they should catch up. And when they do, we'll be really happy that we weren't crazy and that we were just early.